She never thought a quiet morning at her father's fishing dock would turn into a nightmare. The sound of motorcycle engines shattered the peace at Eagles Point Harbor, and in just moments, Hannah Collins would find herself surrounded by the most notorious gang in 3 states. The Steel Vipers weren't known for their mercy, and as their leader circled her like a predator, she could feel her heart pounding against her chest. But what these dangerous men didn't know, what nobody in town knew, was that her quiet, unassuming father was about to teach them the most brutal lesson of their lives. They thought Daniel Collins was just another small-town fisherman. They saw his weathered hands, his patient smile, his humble demeanor. They assumed he was weak, someone they could push around, someone whose daughter they could terrorize. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In the next few minutes, the Steel Vipers would discover that they hadn't just picked on any fisherman's daughter. They had threatened a Navy SEAL's little girl. And some mistakes you only make once. Quick pause before we continue. Tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit subscribe because tomorrow's episode is absolutely mind-blowing. The morning mist clings to the surface of the lake at Eagles Point Harbor, where the gentle lapping of waves against wooden docks creates a symphony of serenity. Hannah Collins stands at the edge of her father's weathered fishing pier, her breath visible in the crisp morning air. At 23, she moves with the confidence of someone who has spent their entire life on these docks, checking equipment and preparing for another day of charter fishing tours. The calm morning shatters as the distant rumble of motorcycles echoes across the water. Hannah's hand pauses on the rope she's coiling, her eyes drawn to the road leading into the marina. The sound grows louder, more menacing with each passing second. The Steel Vipers appear like dark specters through the morning haze, their chrome bikes gleaming under the rising sun. 5 riders, their leather cuts adorned with patches that speak of territory and violence, pull into the marina's gravel parking lot. Their leader, Drake Thompson, kills his engine first, the sudden silence more threatening than the roar that preceded it. Hannah's fingers tighten around the rope, her knuckles white with tension. She's heard stories about the Steel Vipers, whispered warnings in local diners about their reputation for violence and intimidation. But they've never come to Eagles Point Harbor before, not until today. Drake dismounts his bike with practiced ease, his boots crunching on the gravel. Well, what do we have here? His voice carries across the marina, dripping with mock curiosity. Looks like someone's little girl is playing with boats. Hannah continues her work, trying to project a calm she doesn't feel. The methodical motion of coiling the rope gives her something to focus on besides the approaching footsteps. "This is a private charter business," she says, her voice steady despite the fear curling in her stomach. "Unless you have a booking, I'll need to ask you to leave." The bikers laugh, the sound echoing across the empty marina. Drake steps closer, deliberately invading her space. His right-hand man, Marcus, flanks him while the others spread out, creating a loose circle around Hannah. "A booking?" Drake's lips curl into a smirk. "Sweetheart, the Steel Vipers don't need bookings. We go where we want, when we want." Inside the marina office, Mike Henderson watches through the window, his weathered face creased with concern. His hand reaches for the phone, fingers trembling slightly as he dials a number he knows by heart. Out on the lake, Daniel Collins is showing a young family the finer points of bass fishing when his phone buzzes in his pocket. Something in Mike's voice makes him reel in his line immediately. "Everything okay at the dock, Mike?" "Dan, you better get back here. The Steel Vipers just rolled in, and they're circling Hannah like sharks." Daniel's jaw tightens, but his voice remains calm. "I'll be right there." He turns to his clients with an apologetic smile. "Folks, we're going to have to cut this morning's lesson short. Family emergency." Back at the dock, Drake has moved even closer to Hannah. He reaches out, running a finger along the coiled rope in her hands. "Nice knots. Your daddy teach you that? Must be real proud having his little girl carry on the family business." Hannah steps back, her spine straight. "I said you need to leave." Marcus laughs, the sound sharp and cruel. "Oh, she's got spirit, Drake. I like that. Makes it more fun when they fight back a little," another biker adds. moving to block Hannah's path to the marina office. Drake's smile fades slightly. You know, we've been thinking about expanding our territory. Eagles Point Harbor seems like a nice little spot. Quiet, peaceful. He looks around the marina with exaggerated interest. Perfect place for a new clubhouse, don't you think? Hannah's heart races, but she keeps her voice level. This is private property. You're trespassing. Trespassing? Drake throws his head back and laughs. Boys, you hear that? Little girl thinks she owns these docks. His expression darkens. Let me explain something to you, sweetheart. Everything here, it belongs to whoever's strong enough to take it. He reaches for the rope in Hannah's hands, but she holds firm. For a moment, they're locked in a silent battle of wills, neither willing to let go. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Hannah warns, though her voice trembles slightly. Drake's grip tightens. And why's that? Your daddy gonna come save you? His voice drops to a menacing whisper. Where is daddy anyway? Out playing fisherman while his little girl faces the big bad world alone? The other bikers close in, their leather cuts creaking as they move. The morning sun catches on patches that read Steel Vipers MC and No Mercy stitched into worn leather. Maybe we should stick around, Marcus suggests, his eyes never leaving Hannah. Show her how real men run a business. Hannah's mind races. Her father is out on the lake, probably already heading back thanks to Mike's call, but she doesn't know how long it will take him to return. She needs to buy time, keep the situation from escalating. The sheriff makes regular patrols through here, she says, trying to inject confidence into her voice. He'll be by any minute. Drake's smile widens. No, he won't. See, we passed your local law enforcement about 10 miles back. Looked like he was dealing with a nasty accident on the highway. Could be there for hours. He releases the rope suddenly, causing Hannah to stumble back. We've got all the time in the world. The bikers laugh again, but this time there's something darker in the sound. Hannah glances toward the marina office where she can see Mike on the phone, his face pale with concern. Last chance, Hannah says, straightening her shoulders. Leave now or what? Drake steps even closer, towering over her. You gonna make us? You and what army, little girl? The rumble of an approaching boat engine cuts through the tension. Hannah feels a flutter of relief in her chest, knowing that sound anywhere. Her father's charter boat is returning to the dock. Drake turns his head slightly at the sound but doesn't back away. Looks like Daddy's coming home. Good. Maybe he can teach us all about fishing. His voice drips with sarcasm. Always wanted to learn from a real professional. The morning sun breaks through the mist as Daniel Collins's boat approaches the dock. From where she stands, Hannah can see her father's familiar figure at the helm, his movements calm and deliberate as he guides the vessel home. What the Steel Vipers don't see, what they couldn't possibly know, is the way Daniel's eyes scan the situation, taking in every detail with the precision of a man who has spent years in combat. They don't notice how he's already noting their positions, analyzing angles, identifying threats. They see what they want to see. A simple fisherman returning to port, unaware that they're about to learn the cost of threatening a Navy SEAL's daughter. The boat's engine cuts off, leaving an expectant silence hanging over the marina. Drake turns back to Hannah, his smile cruel and confident. Now the real fun begins. Daniel Collins guides his boat to the dock with practiced ease, his movements deliberate and controlled. Nothing in his weathered face betrays the calculations running through his mind as he takes in the scene before him. The 5 bikers have created a loose semicircle around Hannah, their leather cuts catching the morning sun, patches proclaiming their allegiance to the Steel Vipers MC. He ties off the boat with swift, efficient motions, each movement precise. His clients, the young family he'd been teaching to fish, huddle nervously at the stern, sensing the tension in the air. Head straight to your car, Daniel tells them quietly, his voice calm but brooking no argument. Don't look back, don't engage. The family hurries past the bikers, the father pulling his children close as they make their way to the parking lot. Drake watches them go with obvious amusement, then turns his attention to Daniel. "Well, if it isn't Daddy Dearest," Drake calls out, his voice carrying across the dock. "Just in time for the party." Daniel steps onto the dock, his boots making solid contact with the wooden planks. He moves unhurriedly, each step measured and deliberate. To the bikers, he looks like any other middle-aged fisherman, weathered jeans, faded flannel shirt, years of sun etched into his face. They don't notice how he's already mapped out every possible angle of approach, every potential weapon within reach. "Hannah," Daniel says, his voice steady, "everything okay here?" Before Hannah can answer, Drake cuts in. "Oh, we've been taking good care of your little girl, teaching her all about respect and how things work in the real world." Daniel continues his measured approach, stopping a precise distance from the group. "Is that right?" His tone remains conversational, but there's something in his eyes that makes Marcus shift uneasily. "Dad?" Hannah starts, but Drake talks over her again. "You know, we were just discussing business opportunities," Drake says, spreading his arms wide. "This marina, it's got potential, lots of potential. Maybe it's time for some new management." Daniel's expression doesn't change, but something in the air shifts. "I see. And you'd be the new management?" Drake's smile widens. "Smart man. See, that's how things work. Strong take what they want. Weak learn to live with it. Or don't live with it. Their choice." "That's an interesting philosophy," Daniel replies, his voice still calm. "Got a lot of experience with that, do you?" One of the bikers, a hulking man with a patch-reading tank, steps forward. "You mocking us, old man?" "No," Daniel says simply. "Just having a conversation, trying to understand your position." He turns his attention back to Drake. "So what exactly are you proposing here?" Drake laughs, but there's an edge to it now. Something about the old fisherman's calmness is starting to get under his skin. "Proposing? I ain't proposing anything. I'm telling you how it's gonna be. This marina? It's Steel Viper territory now. You want to keep running your little fishing tours? You pay us protection. Want to keep your pretty daughter safe? You pay us more." Hannah starts to protest, but Daniel raises his hand slightly, a gesture so subtle the bikers don't even notice it. But Hannah falls silent immediately, recognizing the signal from years of working alongside her father. "Protection," Daniel repeats thoughtfully. "From what?" "From us," Marcus sneers, stepping closer to Hannah. "Would be a shame if something happened to your boats, or your girl." Daniel's eyes track Marcus's movement, noting the way the biker's hand rests near his belt, where the outline of a knife is visible beneath his cut. The other bikers are spreading out slightly, unconsciously moving into attack positions. "You're threatening my daughter," Daniel says, his voice still conversational. It's not a question. "Threatening?" Drake affects an innocent expression. No, just explaining the facts of life. Strong survive, weak, well, they learn their place." Daniel nods slowly. "I understand. And you consider yourselves strong?" Something in his tone makes Drake pause, but the biker leader covers it with a laugh. "Look around, old man. 5 of us. 1 of you. Your daughter's pretty, but she doesn't count. Math ain't that hard, is it?" "Numbers can be deceiving," Daniel replies mildly. Tank takes another step forward, cracking his knuckles. "Nothing deceiving about a beating, old-timer." "Dad," Hannah says again, concern evident in her voice. She's seen her father calm before, but this is different. This is the kind of calm that comes before a storm. "It's okay, Hannah," Daniel assures her, his eyes never leaving Drake. "These gentlemen are about to learn something important about strength." Drake's amusement begins to fade, replaced by irritation. The old man's continued calmness is starting to feel like disrespect. "Only thing getting learned here is you, Pops. Last chance. You want to do this the easy way, or we giving your daughter a front row seat to watch her daddy get broken?" Daniel takes a single step forward. The movement is so smooth, so controlled, that Drake unconsciously takes a half step back before catching himself. "Let me be clear," Daniel says, his voice dropping slightly. "You came to my marina. You threatened my daughter. You're talking about taking what isn't yours. That tells me you don't understand the first thing about real strength. That right?" Drake's hand moves to his back, where a heavy chain is coiled at his belt. "Why don't you educate us then?" Daniel's eyes track the movement, but his expression remains unchanged. "You sure that's what you want? Education can be expensive." Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The tension in the air thickens. Even the morning birds have fallen silent, as if nature itself is holding its breath. Hannah watches her father, seeing subtle changes in his posture that the bikers miss the slight shift in his weight, the way his hands hang loose but ready at his sides. "You got a smart mouth for an old man," Drake snarls, his patience finally snapping. "Maybe we start by shutting it permanently." He nods to Tank and Marcus, who begin to move forward. Daniel doesn't back away, doesn't raise his hands, doesn't show any sign of fear. He simply stands there, waiting. "Last chance," Daniel says quietly. "Walk away now, and we forget this happened." Drake pulls the chain from his belt, letting it dangle. "Oh, we're way past walking away, old man. Way past that." The morning sun breaks through the clouds, casting harsh shadows across the dock. In that moment, as the bikers tense for action, Hannah sees something change in her father's eyes. The calm is still there, but now there's something else behind it. Something that speaks of battles fought, and won in places far from this peaceful marina. The Steel Vipers are about to learn why some waters run deep, and why the quietest predators are often the most dangerous. Tank moves first, his massive frame charging toward Daniel with the confidence of someone who's never lost a fight. His fist cuts through the morning air, aimed at the older man's jaw, but connects with nothing but mist. Daniel's movement is so subtle, so efficient, that it takes Tank a full second to realize he's missed. "The hell?" Tank mutters, stumbling slightly as his momentum carries him forward. Drake watches, his chain hanging loose in his grip, as his enforcer regains his balance. Something doesn't feel right. The old fisherman shouldn't have been able to move that fast. "Having trouble?" Daniel asks quietly, still standing in the same relaxed pose, as if nothing had happened. Tank snarls and launches another attack, this time throwing a combination of punches that would have laid out any normal man. But Daniel isn't there for any of them, each movement taking him just inches out of harm's way with an economy of motion that speaks of years of training. "Stand still, old man." Tank's frustration boils over as he swings wildly. "Why?" Daniel's voice remains calm. "You seem to be doing fine on your own." Marcus steps forward, pulling his knife. The blade catches the morning sun as he flicks it open. "Let's see you dance around this, Pops." Hannah takes a step forward, but Daniel's voice stops her. "Stay where you are, honey. Everything's under control." Drake laughs, but there's an edge of uncertainty in it now. "Control? You're outnumbered, old-timer. And now you've got steel to deal with." "Numbers," Daniel says softly, "don't mean much if you don't know how to use them." Marcus lunges with the knife, while Tank comes in from the other side. It should have been a perfect trap. Instead, Daniel steps between them with fluid grace, and suddenly Tank is sprawled on the dock, his own momentum used against him, while Marcus stumbles back, his knife hand twisted at an awkward angle. "What the fu—" Marcus starts, but his words cut off in a gasp as Daniel applies just a touch more pressure to his wrist. "Language," Daniel chides gently. "My daughter's present." The knife clatters to the dock, and Daniel releases Marcus with a small push that sends him staggering back into Drake. The gang leader has to step quickly to avoid being knocked over, his chain swinging wildly. "Who are you?" Drake demands, his earlier confidence cracking slightly. "Just a fisherman," Daniel replies mildly. "Like I said, numbers can be deceiving." The other two bikers, who had been hanging back, now move forward uncertainly. They've never seen anyone handle Tank and Marcus so easily, especially not some weather-beaten old fisherman. "Boss," one of them says hesitantly, "something ain't right here." Drake's face darkens with rage. "Shut up. He's just one old man. Take him." They rush forward together, but Daniel moves like water, flowing between their attacks. One biker throws a punch that Daniel guides past him, letting the momentum carry his attacker straight into his companion. They collide with a grunt, stumbling over each other. Hannah watches from the sidelines, her heart racing, but her fear now mixed with a different emotion. Pride. She's never seen her father fight before, never known this side of him existed. Yet, here he is, handling 5 dangerous men with the same calm precision he uses to navigate storm-tossed waters. "Dad," she calls out as Tank struggles to his feet again. "Behind you!" But Daniel is already moving, stepping aside as Tank's wild charge carries him straight into one of the dock's wooden posts. The solid thunk of skull meeting wood echoes across the marina, and Tank drops like a stone. "Anyone else?" Daniel asks, still in that same conversational tone. Drake's knuckles whiten around his chain. "What kind of fisherman are you?" "The kind who's giving you one last chance to leave," Daniel replies. "Take your friend there." He nods at Tank's unconscious form. "And go, before this gets serious." "Serious?" Drake's laugh has an edge of hysteria to it now. "You think this is a game?" "No," Daniel says, his voice dropping slightly. "I think this is you making a series of increasingly poor decisions. Would you like to make another one?" Marcus has regained his feet, rubbing his wrist and glaring at Daniel. "Boss, this guy, he's not normal." "Shut up," Drake snaps. "All of you, take him down, now!" The remaining conscious bikers look at each other uncertainly. Their earlier confidence has evaporated in the face of Daniel's inexplicable skill. Even Drake seems less sure, his chain now held defensively rather than as a weapon. "I can do this all day," Daniel tells them calmly. "But I've got charters booked this afternoon, and I'd hate to disappoint my clients." "You think this is over?" Drake demands, though he takes a small step back. "You think you can embarrass the Steel Vipers and just walk away?" "I think," Daniel replies, "that you came looking for easy prey and found something else entirely. The question is, are you smart enough to learn from the experience?" Drake's face contorts with rage. With a roar, he swings the chain in a deadly arc toward Daniel's head. The metal whistles through the air, and then Danny isn't there anymore. The chain's momentum carries Drake off balance, and suddenly he's falling, the world spinning around him as Daniel uses his own weight and motion against him. Drake hits the dock hard, the chain clattering away across the wooden planks. He looks up to find Daniel standing over him, still with that same calm expression. "Now," Daniel says quietly, "about that education you wanted." The morning sun has risen fully now, burning away the last of the mist. In its clear light, the Steel Viper's fearsome reputation seems to be evaporating just as quickly, leaving them looking like what they really are, bullies who finally picked the wrong target. And Daniel Collins, the simple fisherman they'd so badly underestimated, is about to teach them exactly why that was a mistake. Drake struggles to his feet, his leather cut dusty from the fall, his earlier arrogance replaced by something approaching genuine fear. The casual ease with which Daniel had handled his attacks has shaken him more than he wants to admit. "You've had training," Drake accuses, backing away slightly. "Military?" Daniel's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. "Does it matter?" "Boss," Marcus calls out, still nursing his twisted wrist. "I've seen moves like that before. My cousin was Force Recon. This ain't just some random training." Hannah watches the realization spread across the bikers' faces. She's known about her father's past her whole life, but seeing him in action is different from hearing the stories. The calm, patient man who taught her to tie fishing knots and read weather patterns is still there, but now she's seeing the warrior beneath the surface. "Navy SEAL," Daniel says quietly, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent dock. 15 years. Retired now, but some things you don't forget. Drake's face goes pale. "SEAL? Which explains why you're all still conscious," Daniel continues conversationally. If I wanted you hurt, you'd be hurt. Instead, I'm trying to teach you something about respect. One of the bikers, the youngest of the group, starts edging toward his motorcycle. Boss, maybe we should... Nobody moves. Drake snaps, though his voice shakes slightly. We're the Steel Vipers. We don't back down. Daniel sighs softly. Pride's gonna get you killed one day. Today it's just going to get you embarrassed. Tank groans from his position on the dock, finally regaining consciousness. He pushes himself to his knees, shaking his head to clear it. What happened? Your boss is about to make another mistake, Daniel tells him calmly. You might want to stay down for this one. Drake's hand moves to his back, and Hannah sees the glint of metal. Dad? But Daniel has already moved. The gun Drake was reaching for never clears his waistband before Daniel closes the distance between them. His movements are precise, economical, trained by years of combat experience. Drake gasps as his arm is locked behind him, the gun falling harmlessly to the dock. That, Daniel says, his voice hardening for the first time, was your biggest mistake yet. With a twist and a sweep of his leg, Daniel sends Drake sprawling again. The gun skitters across the dock, stopping at Hannah's feet. She picks it up carefully, holding it like it might bite her. 15 years as a SEAL, Daniel continues, looking down at Drake. Know what that means? It means I've forgotten more about combat than you'll ever know. It means I've faced threats that would make you wet yourself. And it means that threatening my daughter was the dumbest thing you've ever done. Marcus takes a halting step forward. We didn't know. That's the point. Daniel cuts him off. You never know. You ride into town, throw your weight around, think you're the biggest predator in the water. But there's always something deeper in the dark, something that's seen real combat, faced real enemies. He turns to address all of them now, his voice carrying the weight of command. I've fought in places you've never heard of, against enemies you couldn't imagine. You think you're tough because you can intimidate fishermen and shopkeepers? Try facing down actual terrorists. Try swimming through hostile waters with bullets tracking your movement. The bikers stand frozen, their earlier bravado completely evaporated. Even Drake remains on the ground, no longer trying to get up. But you know what the real difference is between you and me? Daniel continues. I don't need to prove anything. I don't need to strut around intimidating people to feel strong. Real strength? Real strength is knowing when not to fight. Hannah watches her father, seeing him in a new light. All these years she'd known about his service, but she'd never truly understood what it meant. Now, watching him handle 5 dangerous men with calculated precision, she's beginning to grasp the depth of his experience. So here's what's going to happen, Daniel says, his voice level but carrying an unmistakable note of authority. You're going to get on your bikes, you're going to ride out of Eagles Point Harbor, and you're going to remember this moment every time you think about bothering peaceful people. Drake manages to push himself to his knees, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. Fear, anger, humiliation. You think this is over? That depends on you, Daniel replies. I can keep demonstrating why this is a bad idea, or you can be smart and walk away. Your choice. But I should warn you I've got all day. And so far, I haven't even started trying. Tank, still groggy from his encounter with the dock post, staggers to his feet. Boss, he's right. We should go. Shut up, Drake snarls, but his voice lacks conviction now. No, you shut up, Marcus cuts in, surprising everyone. We came here looking for easy money, not a fight with a damn SEAL. I'm out. The younger bikers nod in agreement, already backing toward their motorcycles. Only Drake remains defiant, though he makes no move to get up from his knees. Daniel watches them with the patience of a man who has waited out longer sieges. Pride's a funny thing, he says softly. Right now, it's telling you to keep fighting. But wisdom's telling you to cut your losses. The morning sun has climbed higher, burning away the last of the mist. In its clear light, the Steel Viper's fearsome reputation seems to be dissolving just as quickly. leaving them looking like what they really are, bullies who finally met someone they can't intimidate. And Daniel Collins, the quiet fisherman they'd so badly underestimated, isn't finished teaching them about real strength yet. Drake remains on his knees, his world crumbling around him as his gang begins to splinter. Marcus has already started walking toward his bike, followed by the younger members. Only Tank remains beside his leader, though uncertainty shows clearly on his face. "You walk away from this," Drake calls to his retreating men. "You're out, you hear me? Out for good." Daniel's voice cuts through the tension. "Sounds like a promotion to me." Marcus pauses, turning back. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Means you've got a choice," Daniel replies calmly. "Stay with someone who'd get you killed for his pride, or walk away and be your own man. Some leaders protect their people, others use them as shields." Drake struggles to his feet, his face red with rage and humiliation. "You don't know anything about leadership. 3 tours as team leader in active combat zones," Daniel says quietly. "I know more than you think. Know what else I know? A real leader doesn't sacrifice his people for his ego." Hannah watches the younger bikers exchange glances. She can see the impact of her father's words, the way they're hitting home with men who've probably never questioned their choices before. "They're just afraid," Drake spits out. "Afraid of one old man." "No," Daniel corrects him. "They're showing intelligence, something you should try." He turns to address the other bikers directly. "You all have training, don't you? Military?" Marcus nods slowly. "Most of us. Got out, couldn't find our way back to civilian life. The club, it gave us something. Structure, purpose, brotherhood." Daniel's voice carries understanding now. "But this isn't brotherhood. This is bullying. And you're better than that." Tank steps forward, his massive frame somehow smaller now. "I was Army, 2 tours in Afghanistan. Got out, felt lost, thought the club would give me back what I was missing. And did it? No," Tank admits quietly. "Just made me something I never wanted to be." Drake's face contorts with fury. "Traitors, all of you." "They're not betraying you," Daniel tells him. "They're remembering who they really are. Soldiers, warriors, men who once stood for something more than terrorizing small towns." Hannah sees tears in Tank's eyes now, something breaking through his tough exterior. The other bikers have stopped moving toward their bikes, caught in the gravity of the moment. "You know what I see when I look at you," Daniel continues. "I see men who served their country, who knew real brotherhood, real purpose. And somewhere along the way, you lost it. Started following someone who never understood what that really meant." Marcus turns back fully now, his expression troubled. After getting out, nothing felt right. Nothing felt real." "I know," Daniel says softly. "Believe me, I know. When I first got out, I was lost too. Took me a long time to find my way back, to understand that the strength we learned in service isn't for dominating others, it's for protecting them." Drake tries to move toward his gun, still in Hannah's hands, but Daniel's sharp glance freezes him in place. "Don't," Daniel warns quietly. "You've made enough mistakes today." Hannah steps forward, carefully keeping the gun pointed at the ground. "Dad, what should I do with this?" "Unload it," Daniel instructs. "Just like I taught you." She does so with practiced ease, drawing surprised looks from the bikers. The magazine drops into her palm, and she checks the chamber with professional precision. "You taught your daughter to handle weapons?" Marcus asks. "I taught her to respect them," Daniel corrects. "There's a difference. Just like there's a difference between being strong and being a bully." The morning has grown warmer, the sun now high enough to cast shorter shadows across the dock. In its bright light, the changes in the bikers' faces are clear to see: shame, recognition, the slow dawn of understanding. "It's not too late," Daniel tells them. "Any of you. The men you were before, the soldiers, the warriors, the protectors, they're still in there. You just forgot them for a while. Tank wipes his eyes roughly with the back of his hand. What are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to go? Start by remembering who you are, Daniel says. There are programs for veterans, people who understand what you're going through, people who can help you find your way back. Drake launches himself forward suddenly, but Daniel sidesteps smoothly, letting the gang leader's momentum carry him past. In one fluid motion, he takes Drake's legs out from under him, pinning him face down on the dock. Still haven't learned, Daniel sighs. Some lessons take longer than others, I suppose. The other bikers make no move to help their leader. Instead, they watch with a mixture of embarrassment and relief, as if witnessing the end of something that should have ended long ago. Your choice wasn't just about today, Daniel tells the pinned man quietly. It was about every day you led these men down the wrong path, every time you made them less than what they could be. In the distance, police sirens begin to wail. Mike Henderson must have called them after all. Hannah sees the younger bikers tense, ready to flee, but her father's voice stops them. Stay, he commands, and the authority in his voice makes them freeze. Face this. Start making better choices. It's what soldiers do. The morning wind carries the scent of lake water and pine, a reminder of the peace that existed before the Steel Vipers arrived. But now, as the sirens grow closer, something else hangs in the air, the possibility of redemption, of finding a better path. And for most of the men standing on that dock, it feels like the first real thing they've felt in years. 2 police cruisers pull into the marina parking lot, lights flashing against the morning sun. Sheriff Wilson steps out first, his hand resting cautiously on his holster. Behind him, Deputy Martinez emerges from the second vehicle, taking in the scene with obvious surprise. Daniel maintains his hold on Drake but addresses the approaching officers calmly. Morning, Tom. Situation's under control. Sheriff Wilson takes in the scattered bikers, Tank's bruised face, and Marcus's swollen wrist. His eyebrows rise slightly. Looks like we missed quite a party, Dan. Just a misunderstanding about marina management, Daniel replies mildly. These gentlemen were confused about who owns the property. Drake struggles under Daniel's hold. This is assault. I want him arrested. Funny, Sheriff Wilson drawls. Mike Henderson's call mentioned something about armed suspects threatening his tenants. Said something about a gun being pulled too. Hannah steps forward, carefully holding out the unloaded weapon and magazine separately. Here, Sheriff. This is what he tried to use on my father. Deputy Martinez moves to secure the weapon, his trained eyes noting the professional way Hannah handles it. You know your way around firearms, miss? My father taught me, she says simply, about respect, responsibility, and when not to use them. The sheriff looks at the remaining bikers, who haven't moved toward their motorcycles despite the obvious temptation to flee. Steel Vipers, he notes, reading their cuts. You boys are a long way from your usual territory. Marcus steps forward, his military bearing showing through despite his biker appearance. Sir, we'd like to surrender ourselves voluntarily. Drake's head snaps up. What? You can't... Shut up, Drake. Tank rumbles, moving to stand beside Marcus. We're done following you into the gutter. Sheriff Wilson studies the 2 men thoughtfully. Surrender, huh? That's not usually how these situations go down. No, sir, Marcus agrees, but we've had some sense knocked into us. Figuratively speaking, he adds, glancing at Daniel. Daniel releases his hold on Drake, stepping back smoothly as Deputy Martinez moves in with handcuffs. These men are veterans, Tom. They lost their way for a bit, but I think they're ready to find it again. The sheriff's expression softens slightly. His own service in the Gulf War makes him particularly understanding of veterans' struggles. Is that right? Tank straightens his spine, unconsciously falling into a military stance. Yes, sir. Army, 10th Mountain Division. Lost my way after getting out, but... Well, Mr. Collins helped us remember some important things. Navy SEAL, Sheriff Wilson says, nodding toward Daniel. He has a way of making lessons stick. The younger bikers, following their comrades' lead, step forward to surrender themselves. Only Drake continues to resist, cursing and struggling as Deputy Martinez secures the cuffs. "You're all dead," Drake spits. "The club will hear about this. The club," Marcus interrupts firmly, "is about to undergo some changes in leadership, assuming any of us stay with it at all." Daniel watches the scene unfold with quiet satisfaction. "Sheriff, these men might benefit from that veterans program you mentioned last month. The one running out of Portland?" "Thinking the same thing," Sheriff Wilson agrees. "Assuming they're serious about making changes." "We are," Tank says quietly. "Sir, He struggles with the words, years of pent-up emotion trying to break free. "Take it easy, soldier," Daniel tells him gently. "One step at a time." Hannah moves to stand beside her father, watching as Deputy Martinez leads a still struggling Drake to the patrol car. "Dad, you knew, didn't you, about them being veterans?" "Suspected," Daniel corrects. "Saw it in their movements, their reactions. Men like that, they're not lost because they're bad. They're lost because they're searching for something they had before." Sheriff Wilson directs the other bikers to sit on a nearby bench while he makes some calls. None of them make any attempt to flee, their postures reflecting their military backgrounds now that the biker bravado has fallen away. "Mr. Collins?" Marcus calls out. Thank you. Not for the fighting, but for," he gestures vaguely, "for seeing us, really seeing us." Daniel nods in acknowledgement. "You're soldiers. You just forgot for a while. Now you get to remember." The morning has grown warmer, the lake's surface glittering with sunlight. The chaos of earlier has been replaced by a different kind of tension, the tension of men facing their choices, their futures, their potential for redemption. "What happens now?" Hannah asks quietly. "Now," Daniel replies, "these men get a chance to find their way back. Real strength isn't in defeating an enemy, honey. It's in helping them become something better." Sheriff Wilson returns, tucking his phone away. "Got good news. Veterans program has space. Judge Johnson's willing to consider alternative sentencing, given the circumstances and their service records." He looks at the bikers. "Assuming you're all willing to do the work." Tank and Marcus exchange glances with their younger companions. The moment stretches, heavy with possibility. "Yes, sir," they reply in unison, the response automatic, ingrained from years of service. As the morning continues to unfold, Hannah watches the transformation taking place on her family's dock. The steel vipers who arrived full of menace and bravado are gone, replaced by men who might, with time and help, find their way back to who they once were. And her father, the quiet fisherman who had once again proven that true strength lies not in violence but in wisdom, stands watching over it all with the patient eyes of a man who understands that some victories don't require any battles at all. The real fight, the one for redemption, is only just beginning. The fluorescent lights of Eagles Point Harbor Police Station cast harsh shadows across tired faces. Daniel sits beside Hannah in the waiting area while Sheriff Wilson processes the bikers. Through the glass partition, they can see Tank and Marcus sitting quietly, their leather cuts looking oddly out of place under the stark lighting. "Mr. Collins?" Deputy Martinez approaches with a clipboard. "We'll need your statement." Before Daniel can respond, shouting erupts from the holding cells. Drake's voice carries through the station, full of venom and desperation. "You think this changes anything? You're dead, Collins. Your daughter's dead. The club will..." "That's enough." Sheriff Wilson's command cuts through the air. Even through the walls, his authority is clear. Daniel remains seated, his posture relaxed despite the threats. Hannah watches his face, searching for any sign of concern, but finds only calm certainty. "He doesn't give up, does he?" she asks quietly. "Men like that," Daniel replies, "they mistake volume for strength. The louder they shout, the more they're drowning." Deputy Martinez shifts uncomfortably. "Sir, given the nature of his threats, we should discuss protective measures." "No need," Daniel interrupts gently. Drake's already lost everything he values. His power, his reputation, his control over the others. Those threats? They're just empty air. Through the glass, they can see Marcus talking quietly with Sheriff Wilson. His posture has changed, completely gone, is the swagger of a biker enforcer, replaced by the respectful bearing of a veteran speaking to authority. "Your father's right." Tank's deep voice surprises them. He stands in the doorway, accompanied by another deputy. "Drake's finished. The club was already tired of his leadership. This?" He shakes his head. "This is the end for him." Daniel studies the big man thoughtfully. "And for you?" Tank's shoulders slump slightly. "Judge Johnson's offering us a deal. Veterans program instead of jail time. Counseling, job training, the whole package." He pauses, struggling with his next words. Would you be willing to put in a good word? Tell them we're serious about changing?" Hannah watches her father carefully. This is the same man who hours ago had tried to intimidate her on the dock. But there's something different in his eyes now. A vulnerability, a hope that wasn't there before. "Already did," Daniel tells him. "Called the program director while they were processing you. Old SEAL buddy of mine runs it. He's expecting you." Tank's eyes widen. You'd do that for us? After what we did?" "What you did was wrong," Daniel acknowledges. "But what you're doing now, choosing to change, that takes more courage than any fight." The big man blinks rapidly, turning away to hide sudden moisture in his eyes. Sheriff Wilson appears beside him, a stack of papers in hand. "Everything's set," the sheriff announces. "Judge Johnson signed off on the deal. You boys leave for Portland tomorrow morning." He looks at Tank seriously. "Don't make me regret going to bat for you." "No, sir." Tank responds automatically, military bearing returning. "We won't let you down." Through the glass, they can see Marcus and the younger bikers receiving similar news. Their reactions are a mix of relief, disbelief, and something that looks almost like hope. Drake's voice rises again from the holding cells, but it's weaker now, desperate. The threats have lost their power, become merely the impotent rage of a man watching his world crumble. "Your father," Sheriff Wilson says to Hannah, "he's given these men something they haven't had in a long time." "What's that?" she asks. "A chance to remember who they are," the sheriff replies. "Sometimes that's all it takes." Daniel stands, his movement drawing everyone's attention without effort. "The program's tough," he tells Tank. "Tougher than anything Drake ever asked of you. But it's the right kind of tough. The kind that builds instead of breaks." Tank nods solemnly. "Like the service." "Exactly like that," Daniel agrees. "You'll have structure, purpose, brotherhood, the real kind, not the counterfeit version you've been settling for." Marcus appears in the doorway, his face showing the weight of decisions made and paths chosen. "Mr. Collins, the others, they want to know if you'd be willing to talk to them about how you managed after getting out." Daniel glances at Hannah, who smiles encouragingly. "Go on, Dad. They need to hear it." The next hour passes in quiet conversation. Daniel sits with the former bikers, sharing experiences of transition, of finding purpose after service, of building a life that honors their training without being defined by violence. Hannah watches through the glass as hardened expressions soften, as defensive postures relax, as men who arrived as threats begin to look more like the soldiers they once were. Sheriff Wilson stands beside her, observing. "Your father's doing more good here than any jail sentence could." "He's showing them another way," Hannah says softly. "Like he always showed me." From the holding cells, Drake's voice has gone quiet. His threats have dissolved into silence, the sound of a man confronting the consequences of his choices. But in the main room, something else fills the air. The quiet murmur of men remembering who they were, discovering who they might become, and finding, in the most unlikely place, a path back to honor. The transformation that began on a misty morning at Eagles Point Harbor continues. guided by a former SEAL who understands that the greatest victories often come not from defeating an enemy, but from helping them find their way home. Evening settles over Eagles Point Harbor as Daniel and Hannah finally leave the police station. The day's events have left them both exhausted, but there's a sense of accomplishment in the air. As they walk to their truck, Marcus calls out from behind them, "Mr. Collins, wait!" He jogs over, still wearing his steel Viper's cut but somehow looking different in it now. "There's something you need to know." Daniel turns, reading the concern in the former enforcer's face. "What is it?" "Drake. He managed to make a call before they took his phone. To his lieutenant, Razor, back at the clubhouse." Marcus glances around nervously. "Razor's not like us. Never served, never had honor to lose. He's just mean, and he's got about 15 guys who follow him blindly." Hannah feels her father tense slightly beside her, though his expression remains calm. "How long?" "They're probably already on their way," Marcus admits. "Razor doesn't mess around, and he's been looking for an excuse to take over from Drake anyway. This would give him that chance." Daniel considers this information, his tactical mind already working through scenarios. "How do they usually operate?" "Full force, no warning," Tank adds, appearing behind Marcus. "Razor likes to make examples of people, and after what happened here..." He trails off, looking ashamed. "Dad," Hannah starts, but Daniel raises a hand gently. "Sheriff Wilson needs to know," he says calmly, "and then we need to prepare." Inside the station, the news sends a ripple of tension through law enforcement. Sheriff Wilson immediately begins mobilizing additional deputies, but resources are limited in a small town. "I've got 6 deputies total," the sheriff explains, spreading a map across his desk. "If they come in force like you're suggesting..." "They will," Tank confirms grimly. "And they'll hit hard. Razor's been waiting for something like this." Daniel studies the map intently. "They'll likely come in from here." He points to the main road. "It's the only approach that gives them cover until the last moment." "We should evacuate the marina," Deputy Martinez suggests. "No," Daniel says firmly. "That's what they want to drive people out, show their power. We don't run." Hannah watches her father's face, seeing the strategist emerge again. "What's the play, Dad?" "We use what we have," Daniel replies, his voice taking on the quiet authority that comes from years of combat leadership. "Sheriff, your deputies can cover these points. Tank, how many of your people are willing to stand with us?" Tank straightens up. "All of us, sir. We've made our choice. No going back now." Marcus nods in agreement. "We know these guys, how they think, how they move. We can help." Sheriff Wilson looks skeptical. "You're asking me to trust the same men who were causing trouble this morning?" "No," Daniel corrects him. "I'm asking you to trust soldiers who've remembered their oath. There's a difference." Through the holding cell window, they can see Drake watching them, his expression a mix of fury and fear. He knows what's coming, knows the violence Razor will bring, but his warnings now would only fall on deaf ears. "We've got maybe 2 hours," Marcus estimates. "They'll wait for dark." Daniel nods, already formulating plans. "That's enough time. Sheriff, I need to make some calls. I know some people in the area, former teammates, operators who owe me favors." "Dad," Hannah interjects, "I'm not leaving." "Wasn't going to ask you to," Daniel replies, surprising everyone. "You know every inch of that marina, every hiding spot, every advantage we can use. I need your eyes." The next hour is a flurry of activity. Daniel's calls bring promises of support from unexpected quarters. Former special operators living quiet lives in the area, men who understand the importance of standing against bullies and protecting community. Tank and Marcus work with their former brothers, positioning them based on their knowledge of Razor's tactics. The younger bikers, eager to prove their commitment to their new path, throw themselves into the preparations. "It's not just about defending the marina anymore," Tank tells them during a quiet moment. "It's about showing them there's another way, like Mr. Collins showed us. Hannah helps coordinate the civilian volunteers who've appeared fishermen, dock workers, people who've had enough of being intimidated. Her father's example has inspired something in the community, a willingness to stand together. Your father, Marcus says to her as they check radio communications. He did more than just beat us today. He woke us up, reminded us what it means to fight for something real. The sun begins to set over Eagles Point Harbor, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. In the gathering darkness, men who hours ago were enemies now prepare to stand together, united by something stronger than fear or intimidation. Daniel stands at the end of the main dock, watching the sunset with careful eyes. Years of combat experience tell him that the coming confrontation will test everything, not just their defenses, but their commitment to doing things the right way. We hold without escalating, he instructs the gathered defenders. No one plays hero, no one takes unnecessary risks. We're here to show them that this community stands together, not to start a war. The former Steel Vipers nod in understanding, their faces showing the same resolution that once made them soldiers. They've been given a chance at redemption, and they intend to earn it. As night falls over Eagles Point Harbor, the quiet before the storm settles in. But this time, when trouble comes roaring down the road, it won't find easy prey. It will find something else entirely, a community united, standing firm under the leadership of a man who understands that the greatest victories are won not through force alone, but through the courage to stand together for what's right. The real test is about to begin. The rumble of motorcycles breaks the evening silence. Not the scattered approach of a few bikes, but the coordinated thunder of a small army. Daniel stands at his observation point near the marina office, counting the distinct engine sounds. 20 bikes, he says quietly into his radio. More than we expected. 23. Tank's voice crackles back. I recognize those engines. Razor brought everyone, even the prospects. Hannah, positioned in the marina's surveillance room with the security cameras, watches the approaching headlights. They're moving in a wedge formation, just like you said they would, Dad. Because Razor's predictable, Marcus adds from his position. Always has to make a show of force. The bikes pour into the marina parking lot, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Razor lives up to his name, lean, sharp-featured, with a face full of jagged scars. He kills his engine first, the sudden silence more threatening than the noise. Collins, Razor's voice carries across the marina. We know you're here. Come face what's coming to you. Daniel's voice remains calm over the radio. Everyone hold position. Let them make the first move. Razor dismounts, followed by his crew. Their heavily armed chains, bats, and glimpses of more lethal weapons poorly concealed under leather cuts. The gang spreads out, trying to cover the entire marina entrance. You humiliated our president, Razor shouts. Made our club look weak. That carries a price. Your president? Daniel's voice cuts through the darkness as he steps into view, hands relaxed at his sides. Last I heard, Drake was looking at serious time. Seems like the club might need new leadership. Razor's eyes narrow. That what this is about? You thinking of taking over? No, Daniel replies simply. I'm thinking it's time for the Steel Vipers to remember what honor looks like. Honor? Razor spits on the ground. You sound just like those military boys. Look where honor got them locked up, turned rat. Those men? Daniel's voice carries across the parking lot. They remembered who they really are. Warriors, protectors, not thugs hiding behind patches. Razor signals his men to spread out further. Always with the speeches. This is business, old man. You hurt our reputation. Now we hurt you. Last chance, Daniel warns quietly. Leave now while you can. Razor laughs, the sound harsh in the darkness. Or what? You'll beat up all of us like you did Drake? You're good, I'll give you that. But you're just one man. Is he? The voice comes from behind the Steel Vipers. Tank steps out of the shadows, followed by the younger bikers who'd chosen to stand with him. They've removed their Steel Vipers' cuts, standing tall in their military bearing. What's this? Razor sneers. The traitors want to die first? More figures emerge from the darkness. Sheriff Wilson and his deputies, local fishermen, and others men with the quiet confidence that comes from years of special operations training, Daniel's former teammates answering his call. "See, Razor?" Daniel says calmly. "That's always been your weakness. You think strength comes from fear, from intimidation. But real strength?" He gestures to the men and women surrounding the gang. "Real strength comes from community, from standing together." Razor's men shift uneasily, suddenly aware that they're surrounded. The tactical advantage they thought they had has evaporated. "This is your opportunity," Daniel continues. "To change, to be better, like your brothers chose to be." "They're not brothers," Razor snarls. "They're nothing. We were soldiers," Tank's voice carries authority now, "before we were Vipers, and we choose to be soldiers again." The tension builds as Razor's men look to their leader, uncertainty clear in their movements. They came expecting to find one man to overwhelm. Instead, they found an entire community united against them. "Last chance," Daniel repeats. "You can leave those cuts here, walk away, find a better path, or you can try your luck. But I warn you." His voice drops slightly, carrying the weight of combat experience. "I've got snipers on the marina roof, deputies with riot gear in position, and enough former special operations personnel here to make this very unpleasant for you." Razor's hand moves toward his waistband. "You're bluffing." Red dots suddenly appear on his chest and those of his key lieutenants. The message is clear. "I don't bluff," Daniel says quietly. "Never have." One of Razor's men, a younger prospect, suddenly pulls off his cut and throws it to the ground. Then another, and another. Like dominoes falling, the gang's facade of unity crumbles. Razor stands alone now, his face contorted with rage and disbelief. "You're dead, all of you. The club will—" "The club," Marcus interrupts, stepping forward, "is done. At least this version of it is." He looks at the remaining loyal members. "We were supposed to be brothers. Instead, we became thugs. Time to choose a better way." The night air fills with the sound of leather cuts hitting the ground. One by one, Razor's army surrenders not to force, but to the possibility of something better. Only Razor remains defiant, his hand still hovering near his concealed weapon. Daniel watches him calmly, seeing the desperation in his eyes. "Your choice," Daniel tells him softly, "but choose carefully. Some mistakes you don't get to take back." The marina falls silent, waiting for Razor's decision, and the future of the Steel Vipers hangs in the balance. Razor's hand trembles near his weapon, his world collapsing around him. The red dots from the sniper sights remain steady on his chest, but it's not just the threat of force that's breaking him, it's the absolute silence of his men, the sight of discarded cuts littering the ground, the realization that his power was always an illusion. "You can't," his voice cracks. "You can't do this. The club is everything. We're the Steel Vipers. We're nothing," one of his former lieutenants interrupts, pulling off his own cut. "Just scared men pretending to be something we're not." Daniel steps forward, his movement careful and measured. "You know what I see when I look at you, Razor? I see someone who's never had anyone believe in him. Someone who built his whole identity around being feared because he never learned how to be respected." Razor's hand finally drops away from his weapon, his shoulders sagging. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you're tired," Daniel says quietly. "Tired of always having to be the biggest threat in the room. Tired of watching your back. Tired of living without honor." Sheriff Wilson moves closer, his handcuffs ready but not yet drawn. "There's still a choice here, son. Make the right one." Hannah watches from her position as something breaks in Razor's expression. The hardness, the artificial toughness, cracks like ice in spring. "I never," Razor's voice catches, "I never wanted any of this. Just wanted to belong somewhere." "You can," Tank says, stepping forward. "But not like this, not through fear." Marcus joins him. "We're going to rebuild the club, make it something better, something that helps veterans find their way back, instead of losing themselves further. Razor looks around at his former crew, now standing stripped of their cuts, looking both lost and somehow freed. "And what happens to me?" "That depends on you," Daniel replies. "The Veterans Program has room for one more, if you're willing to do the work, really do it." The night air holds its breath as Razor struggles with the choice. Finally, with hands that shake slightly, he removes his cut. The leather falls to the ground with a soft thud that seems to echo across the marina. "I'm tired," he admits, his voice barely a whisper. "So damn tired." Sheriff Wilson steps forward, but Daniel raises a hand. "Wait." He approaches Razor slowly. "Before anything else happens, there's something you need to do." "What's that?" "Apologize to my daughter, not because you're scared, not because you're caught, but because it's the right thing to do." Hannah moves closer as Razor turns to face her. The man who had come to instill fear now looks small, human. "I'm sorry," he says, and for the first time all day, his voice carries genuine emotion. "For everything. I was wrong." Hannah nods, accepting the apology with grace. "Thank you." The tension that has held the marina in its grip begins to dissolve. Sheriff Wilson's deputies move in to handle the formal surrenders, while Daniel's former teammates secure the discarded weapons. "What happens now?" one of the younger bikers asks, looking lost without his cut. "Now," Daniel answers, "you all get a chance to remember who you are without these patches defining you. Some of you will choose the Veterans Program, others might find different paths, but all of you get to choose again." Tank and Marcus begin gathering the discarded cuts into a pile. There's something ceremonial about it, like soldiers laying down arms after a long war. "Mr. Collins," Marcus calls out, Would you help us burn them? Feel like it should be you." Daniel looks at the pile of leather, symbols of fear and intimidation transformed into a pyre of redemption. "No," he says finally. "This needs to come from you. Your choice, your new beginning." As the cuts begin to burn, their flames reaching into the night sky, Hannah moves to stand beside her father. "Did you know it would end this way?" "No," he admits, "but I hoped. Sometimes people just need to be shown another way." The fire burns higher, consuming the past, lighting the way towards something new. Around it stand men who came looking for a fight and found redemption instead, their faces illuminated by flames that burn away more than just leather and patches. Razor stands with Sheriff Wilson, quietly providing names, dates, information that will help dismantle the criminal elements of the club. It's not just surrender, it's atonement. "We'll need help," Tank says, watching the fire, "to rebuild, to make it right." Daniel nods. "You'll have it. But the real work comes from inside you. All of you." The night wraps around them, but it's no longer filled with threat and menace. Instead, there's a sense of possibility, of paths opening where before there were only walls. And in the dancing flames that consume the symbols of their past, these men begin to see glimpses of who they might become. Dawn breaks over Eagles Point Harbor, the morning sun casting long shadows across the marina where, just hours ago, everything had changed. The smell of burnt leather still lingers in the air as Daniel stands at the end of the dock, watching the first fishing boats head out for the day. Hannah joins him, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "Mike says the early charter canceled. After everything that happened last night, they'll be back," Daniel says, accepting the coffee. "People remember courage more than they remember fear." The sound of boots on wood draws their attention. Tank and Marcus approach, looking strange without their cuts, but somehow more authentic. "Transport's here," Marcus announces quietly. "They're taking us to Portland, to the Veterans Program." "Razor too," Tank adds. "He's been quiet since last night. Different kind of quiet though, like he's thinking instead of plotting." Daniel nods, understanding the significance. The hardest fights are the ones we have with ourselves. The sound of vehicles approaching makes them turn. 2 unmarked vans pull into the marina parking lot, accompanied by Sheriff Wilson's cruiser. One by one, the former Steel Vipers emerge from temporary holding, blinking in the morning light. "Mr. Collins," one of the younger members calls out, hesitating before approaching. We were wondering, when we finish the program, could we come back? Not as Vipers, but as part of the community?" Daniel finishes for him. "That depends on you, on what you do with this chance." Sheriff Wilson joins them, his face showing the fatigue of a long night. Judge Johnson signed off on all the arrangements, even for Razor, though he'll have some additional conditions to meet. Hannah watches as the former gang members begin boarding the vans. There's no bravado now, no false toughness. Just men facing the prospect of change, some with fear, others with cautious hope. "Dad," she says suddenly, "tell them." Daniel understands immediately. The Marina's always looking for good help, he calls out to the waiting men. People who know boats, who understand discipline. Once you've done the work, done it right, there's a place for you. The impact of his words is visible on their faces. For men used to taking what they want, the offer of honest work, of legitimate belonging, hits deep. "You'd trust us?" Razor asks from the van's doorway, speaking for the first time since his surrender. "After everything?" "Trust is earned," Daniel replies, "but everyone deserves the chance to earn it." As the vans prepare to depart, Marcus turns back one last time. "Thank you. Not just for stopping us, but for..." He struggles to find the words. "For showing us who we could be." Tank finishes for him. "Who we were supposed to be all along." The vans pull away, carrying with them men who arrived as threats and leave as possibilities. Sheriff Wilson watches them go, shaking his head slightly. "You know," he says to Daniel, "when Mike called about bikers causing trouble, I never expected it to end like this." "Neither did they," Daniel responds. "That's the thing about crossroads, you never know which path will open up." Throughout the morning, word spreads through Eagles Point Harbor. The story grows with each telling how one man's quiet strength turned enemies into allies, how a community stood together, how redemption came to those who least expected it. Local fishermen stop by the marina, some offering support, others simply wanting to understand. Daniel tells the story simply, without embellishment, emphasizing not his own role, but the courage it takes to change. "The real test starts now," he tells Hannah as they watch another boat head out. "Change isn't just about one night's decisions, it's about every day that follows." Mike Henderson approaches, carrying paperwork. "Insurance company's going to have questions," he says, but he's smiling. "Worth it, though. First time in years, I've felt like this place truly belongs to the community again." "It always did," Daniel replies. "Some folks just needed reminding." The morning continues to unfold, bringing with it the normal rhythms of marina life. But there's something different in the air now, a sense of possibility, of barriers broken down, of wounds beginning to heal. "You think they'll make it?" Hannah asks, watching the vans disappear into the distance. "Really make it?" Daniel considers the question carefully. Some will, some won't. Change is hard, but they've got something now they didn't have before. "What's that?" "Hope," he says simply. And sometimes that's enough to start with. The sun climbs higher, burning away the last of the morning mist. Another day begins at Eagles Point Harbor, but it's a different harbor now. Stronger not because of walls built up, but because of bridges built between people who once saw each other as enemies. And in Portland, in a program designed to help lost soldiers find their way home, the real work of transformation begins. 1 week after the confrontation at Eagles Point Harbor, Daniel receives the first letter. It's written on simple notebook paper, the handwriting careful and deliberate, like someone taking their time to get the words exactly right. "Dear Mr. Collins," he reads aloud to Hannah as they prepare the morning's charter boat. "First week of program completed. It's harder than anything Drake ever asked of us, but it's the right kind of hard. Tank's leading morning PT. Marcus is organizing veteran support groups. Even Razor's trying. Hannah pauses in her work. They all wrote? Each one, Daniel confirms, showing her the stack of letters. Different perspectives, same story. They're remembering who they were before the Steel Vipers, who they could have been all along. The marina has changed too. Where once there was tension when motorcycles approached, now there's curiosity. Word has spread about what happened that night, about how one man's wisdom turned enemies into allies. Sheriff Wilson stops by with an update. Got word from the program director, says he's never seen a group work harder at changing. Even the resistant ones are starting to come around. They needed a mission, Daniel explains, coiling rope with practiced ease. Something bigger than themselves. Speaking of missions, the sheriff continues, remember those other MC chapters you were worried about? The ones you thought might retaliate? Daniel nods, his hands never stopping their work. Well, seems your former SEAL buddies had some conversations with them. Real interesting conversations. Suddenly they're all very interested in veteran outreach programs. Hannah catches her father's slight smile. Your teammates have been busy. People want to do better, Daniel says simply. Sometimes they just need to know it's possible. A familiar rumble approaches the marina, but it's different now. 2 motorcycles pull in, their riders wearing clean leather jackets without gang insignia. Former Steel Vipers who'd been out of town during the confrontation come to understand what changed their brothers. Daniel meets them at the dock's edge, his posture relaxed but ready. The riders dismount, remove their helmets, and approach with obvious uncertainty. We heard what happened, one says. Heard our brothers found another way. There's always another way, Daniel replies. Question is, are you interested in finding it? They are. Over coffee in the marina office, Daniel shares the story again. Not as a tale of defeat, but as one of transformation. He shows them the letters, lets them see how their former brothers are changing. It's not easy, he tells them. Change never is, but it's worth it. By afternoon, 2 more bikes are headed toward Portland, 2 more lives turning toward redemption rather than destruction. Mike Henderson watches them go. You know, when I called you about trouble that morning, I thought we'd be lucky if no one got killed. Never imagined we'd end up saving lives instead. We didn't save them, Daniel corrects gently. We showed them they could save themselves. The day brings more visitors. Local business owners who'd lived in fear of the Steel Vipers come to thank Daniel. Young veterans who'd heard the story ask about the program. Each conversation adds another thread to the tapestry of community being rewoven. Hannah finds her father at sunset, standing at the end of the dock where it all began. Another letter came, she says, holding out an envelope. From Razor this time. Daniel reads it silently, his expression thoughtful. He's struggling, he says finally. But he's trying. Says he never knew there was another way to be strong. Until you showed him, Hannah adds. Until he chose to see it, Daniel corrects. That's the real victory here. Not that we stood up to them, but that they chose to stand up for themselves. The evening settles over Eagles Point Harbor, painting the water in shades of gold and purple. Where once there was fear, now there's possibility. Where there was division, now there's the beginning of understanding. A young veteran approaches Daniel, hesitant but determined. Sir, I heard about what happened, about the program. I've been having trouble since getting out and I thought maybe… Come on, Daniel says warmly. Let's talk about it. First thing you need to know is you're not alone. And so another story begins. Another life turns toward hope rather than despair. In Portland, former Steel Vipers work to rebuild themselves. In Eagles Point Harbor, a community grows stronger through unity rather than fear. And on a quiet dock where it all began, a father and daughter continue their work, knowing that sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating enemies, but from turning them into friends. The transformation continues. One choice, one day, one life at a time. 1 month after the night that changed Eagles Point Harbor, Hannah arrives at the marina to find her father reading another stack of letters. The morning sun glints off the water as she joins him in the office. Tank's group completed their first month, Daniel tells her without looking up. Program director says they're setting records for progress. Marcus has started mentoring newer veterans. Even Razor's finding his way. The letters tell a story of transformation. Former Steel Vipers learning trades, attending therapy, reconnecting with families they'd pushed away. But it's the smaller details that catch Hannah's attention. Tank teaching other veterans about boat maintenance. Marcus organizing support groups. Razor quietly helping newcomers adjust. They're not just changing, she observes. They're helping others change too. A truck pulls up outside, carrying Mike Henderson's new security system. But instead of the usual installers, two familiar faces step out, former Steel Vipers who'd completed their initial program phase and chosen to learn technical skills. "Mr. Collins," one calls out, standing straighter than he used to. "We're here to make good on that promise about honest work." Daniel watches as they unload their equipment with professional care. No swagger, no intimidation, just quiet competence and purpose. "How's civilian life treating you?" "Different," the man answers honestly. "Better. Still hard sometimes, but better." The marina itself has transformed. Where once there was tension and wariness, now there's a sense of community. The incident with the Steel Vipers had shown people what they could accomplish together, and that lesson hadn't been forgotten. Sheriff Wilson arrives with more news. "Got word from Portland. The program's expanding. They're using your group as a model for other chapters, other clubs. Seems word's spreading about what happened here." Daniel nods, unsurprised. People want to change. They just need to see that it's possible. The police radio crackles with a familiar kind of call, bikers causing trouble at a local business. But before anyone can react, another voice cuts in. It's Marcus, who'd returned to town for a visit. "I've got this one, Sheriff," he says clearly. "Think they might listen to someone who's been there." Hannah watches her father's expression as they listen to Marcus talk the bikers down, using his own story as a bridge to understanding. No violence, no threats, just one veteran reaching out to others who've lost their way. "He's good at that," Daniel observes quietly. "Better than he ever was at intimidation." By afternoon, the security system is installed, and the former Vipers are sharing coffee with Mike Henderson, discussing potential future work. Their leather jackets now bear different patches, not gang insignia, but trade union logos and veteran support groups. "Never thought I'd see the day," Mike admits to Daniel. "Those same men who tried to take over the marina, now helping protect it." A motorcycle rumbles into the parking lot, but no one tenses anymore. It's Tank, back for his promised visit, his bike now decorated with veteran support stickers instead of gang symbols. "Mr. Collins," he greets, removing his helmet. "Got something to show you." He pulls out photographs of the program's latest project, a community center being built by former gang members, a place where veterans can find support and purpose. In one photo, Razor works alongside others, teaching construction skills he'd learned in the program. "It's not just about us anymore," Tank explains. "It's about making sure no other veteran feels so lost they think a gang is their only option." The day continues, bringing more signs of change. Local business owners who once feared the Steel Vipers now work with program graduates, offering jobs and opportunities. Young veterans seeking guidance find mentors in the most unexpected places. Hannah helps her father prepare the last charter of the day, watching as he shows a group of veterans the basics of fishing. Among them are former gang members from other clubs, drawn by the story of what happened at Eagles Point Harbor. "You know what the real change is?" she asks her father as they work. "It's not just that they stopped being criminals, it's that they started being leaders." Daniel nods, pride evident in his expression. That's what they were always meant to be. They just forgot for a while. As evening approaches, Marcus returns from his successful intervention. He joins them on the dock, watching the sunset with new eyes. "A month ago, I would have handled that situation with threats," he admits. Now I understand what you were trying to teach us. Real strength isn't about making people fear you. It's about helping them find their own strength, Daniel finishes. The harbor lights begin to flicker on, reflecting off the calm water. In Portland, more lives are being rebuilt. In Eagles Point Harbor, a community continues to grow stronger. And on a quiet dock, where violence once threatened to tear everything apart, peace has taken root instead. The transformation that began with one man's stand against intimidation has become something larger, a movement of veterans helping veterans, of community supporting community, of people choosing to be their better selves. And in the growing darkness, the lights of Eagles Point Harbor shine brighter than ever before. 3 months after the confrontation that changed Eagles Point Harbor, Daniel stands before a crowd at the newly established Veterans Support Center in Portland. The building, once a rundown warehouse, now stands as a testament to transformation, renovated by the same hands that once dealt in intimidation and fear. "I didn't plan any of this," he tells the assembled group of veterans, former gang members, and community leaders. "I just knew there had to be a better way." Tank stands beside him at the podium, his massive frame now carrying a different kind of strength. "Mr. Collins showed us that strength isn't about making people fear you. It's about lifting others up." The center bustles with activity. In one room, Marcus leads a support group for veterans struggling with civilian transition. In another, Razor teaches vocational skills, his quiet patience a stark contrast to his former volatility. "You know what the real miracle is?" Hannah whispers to her father as they tour the facility. "It's not just that they changed, it's that they're helping others change too." The evidence is everywhere. Former Steel Vipers working alongside other veterans, sharing stories, offering hope. The gang's old clubhouse has been transformed into a job training center, its walls now covered with success stories instead of intimidating symbols. Sheriff Wilson, attending the center's official opening, pulls Daniel aside. "Remember when you said some of them would make it and some wouldn't? Well, the numbers are in. 87% success rate. Nobody's ever seen anything like it." A commotion near the entrance draws their attention. Drake, recently released and enrolled in the program, stands hesitantly at the threshold. His former arrogance is gone, replaced by uncertainty. Tank approaches him first. "Welcome home, brother. Real home this time." Drake's eyes meet Daniel's across the room. "I didn't think... After everything, everyone deserves a chance to find their way back," Daniel says simply. The day unfolds with more revelations. Local businesses reporting increased veteran hiring. Crime rates dropping as more gang members choose rehabilitation over retaliation. Other motorcycle clubs reaching out, asking about starting their own transformation programs. Marcus shares statistics from their outreach efforts. "We've made contact with 15 other clubs in 3 states. 10 have already started their own veteran support initiatives." In the center's workshop, Razor works with a group of young veterans, teaching them the trade skills he's mastered. His face bears new lines not from anger or violence, but from concentration and purpose. "Never thought I'd be good at teaching," he tells Daniel during a break. "Spent so many years thinking strength meant making others weak. Now I understand real strength is helping others become strong." Hannah watches it all, documenting the changes for the center's records. "Remember when they first came to the marina?" she asked her father. "How different everything was." "Same people," Daniel corrects gently. "Just a different path." The afternoon brings more visitors. Representatives from veteran organizations impressed by the program's success. Former gang members seeking guidance on starting their own transformation journeys. Each conversation adds another thread to the tapestry of change being woven. Tank gathers everyone for the center's official dedication ceremony. 3 months ago, we were lost. Thought being feared meant being respected. Then one man showed us different, showed us that real strength comes from serving others, not dominating them. The crowd listens as Tank continues, his voice carrying the weight of experience. What happened at Eagles Point Harbor wasn't just about one confrontation. It was about remembering who we really are, who we were meant to be. Daniel stands quietly at the back, watching as his small act of standing firm against intimidation continues to ripple outward. touching more lives than he ever imagined possible. "Your father," Sheriff Wilson says to Hannah, "he didn't just stop a gang that day, he started a movement." The ceremony concludes with a surprise announcement. The center's job training program has secured funding for expansion, allowing them to help more veterans transition to civilian life. As evening approaches, Daniel finds himself back on the center's roof, looking out over Portland. Behind him, the sounds of community and purpose rise from the building: laughter, conversation, the noise of people finding their way together. Razor joins him, now 3 months sober and serving as the center's maintenance supervisor. "You know what I think about sometimes? How close we came to missing all this. If you'd just been what we thought you were, just another guy we could push around." "But I wasn't," Daniel says quietly. "And you weren't what you thought you were either." The sun sets over Portland, casting long shadows across the city. In those shadows, more lives are being rebuilt, more paths being redirected, more strength being found in service rather than intimidation. And in Eagles Point Harbor, where it all began, the lights still shine bright against the darkness, a beacon for those seeking their way home. 6 months after the morning that changed everything, dawn breaks over Eagles Point Harbor. Daniel and Hannah stand at their familiar spot on the dock, watching the sun rise over calm waters. The marina has changed not just physically, with its new security systems and improved facilities, but in deeper, more meaningful ways. "Hard to believe it's been half a year," Hannah says, handing her father his morning coffee. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday." Daniel nods, his eyes on the horizon where fishing boats are heading out for their morning runs. Among them are vessels crewed by former steel vipers, men who've traded leather cuts for honest work on the water. The rumble of motorcycles approaches, but no one tenses anymore. Tank leads a group of veterans on their monthly ride, a therapy program he started that combines motorcycle maintenance with peer support. "Morning, Mr. Collins," he calls out, parking his bike. His leather jacket now bears the logo of the Veteran Support Program he helps run. "Brought some new recruits who wanted to meet you." The riders dismount a mix of veterans struggling with civilian transition and former gang members seeking a better path. Among them is Drake, now 4 months into his recovery, his face showing the subtle changes that come with finding genuine purpose. "Still weird," Drake admits quietly to Daniel. "Being back here, remembering how it was, seeing how it is now." "Good weird or bad weird?" Daniel asks. "Good. Definitely good." The morning unfolds with familiar rhythms. Marcus arrives with progress reports from the Portland Center, where the success stories continue to multiply. Razor, now the center's head of vocational training, sends word about their latest graduation class. Sheriff Wilson joins them for the morning briefing, a new tradition that brings together law enforcement, veteran support services, and community leaders. "Got the latest statistics," he announces proudly. "Gang activity down 70% across 3 states. Veteran employment up 40%. And it all started right here, on this dock." Hannah watches a group of former Vipers teaching boat safety to local kids, men who once terrorized the community, now serving as its protectors. "They didn't just change themselves," she observes. "They changed everything." The day brings more evidence of transformation. The old Steel Vipers clubhouse, now a community center, hosts veteran support meetings. The parking lot where threats were once made now holds job fairs and family gatherings. Daniel leads a group of veterans through basic fishing techniques, his quiet instruction carrying the same authority that once turned enemies into allies. Among his students are former gang members from other clubs, drawn by the story of what happened at Eagles Point Harbor. "You know what the real change is?" Tank asks, watching the scene. "It's not just that we stopped being who we were. It's that we finally became who we were supposed to be all along." As afternoon approaches, they gather for a small ceremony. The marina's new veteran support office is being dedicated, funded by the same men who once threatened to take it over. Marcus steps forward to speak. 6 months ago, we came here thinking strength meant making others fear us. We were wrong. Mr. Collins showed us that real strength comes from lifting others up, from serving something bigger than ourselves." The crowd includes faces from every part of their journey: reformed gang members, local business owners, law enforcement, and veterans finding their way home. Each person carries a piece of the story. Each represents a thread in the tapestry of transformation. Razor, standing tall in his work clothes rather than gang colors, adds his own testimony. We thought we were untouchable, thought we were strong. But real strength? Real strength was in the man who stood alone on this dock and saw in us something we couldn't see in ourselves. The sun begins its descent over Eagles Point Harbor, painting the sky in colors that seem brighter somehow, more full of promise. Daniel stands at the edge of the dock where it all began, his daughter beside him, watching the light play across waters that have seen so much change. "You did all this, Dad," Hannah says softly. "No," Daniel corrects her, watching the community they've built continue to grow, strengthen, and inspire. They did it. They just needed to be reminded of who they really were. The evening settles over the harbor, but lights still burn bright in the community center, in the veteran support office, in homes where families have been reunited. The darkness that once threatened to consume this place has been transformed into something else entirely, a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of seeing the best in others, even when they can't see it in themselves. And as night falls over Eagles Point Harbor, the stars reflect off calm waters, illuminating a truth that began with one man's stand against intimidation, that the greatest strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the courage to help others rebuild. The story that began with bikers harassing a fisherman's daughter has become something else entirely, a testament to the transformative power of dignity, respect, and the unwavering belief that it's never too late to choose a better path. Eagles Point Harbor stands as proof that sometimes the most powerful changes begin with a single act of courage, and that true strength lies not in making others fear us, but in helping them remember who they were always meant to be. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.